Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bike. Music has the power to move us long before our bodies ever could. It can shift our mood, unlock emotion, and carry us through moments we didn't think we had the energy for. And when music meets movement, something powerful happens. Today's guest lives right at the intersection. Lauren Elizabeth Campbell has spent her career working in the music world while building deep personal connection to movement here at our studios. She's ridden with us across both Charleston and Morgantown and recently hit an incredible milestone. In this conversation, we talk about what it means to experience music, not just as sound, but as fuel. How rhythm, tempo, and emotion translate from the music industry into the saddle. This conversation is about consistency, connection, and the power of letting go. I'm so excited to share this one with you. Without further ado, here's another episode of Off the Bike. Let's go. Hi, friends. Welcome back to another podcast episode of Off the Bike. I'm super excited to introduce you to today's guest, Miss Lauren Elizabeth Campbell. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Before we started recording on this call, I was telling you how windy it was today. I feel like I'm getting blown away like the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, it's crazy outside.
I am so excited for all of the people listening, wherever they're listening from, to get to know you, to learn more about your story. And today's podcast is one that I am even more excited about because we share so much in common around the music scene. So before we dive into everything that I want to go through today, why don't you just give us, our listeners, a quick overview of who you are, and then we'll start dissecting the conversation from there.
Yeah, so like Nick said, I have a background in music, but I'm currently a law student in WVU. But prior to all of that, I'm from Charleston, and to start from the very beginning, I started going to shows in middle school as a teen reporter for the Charleston Gazette-Mail. And so I was photographing shows and meeting promoters at a very, very young age. And I just felt like that was something to do for fun. And I did that all throughout high school. And then I got to college at the University of Kentucky, where I joined Grammy U, which is the student division of the Recording Academy. And that led me to meet so many different people in the industry. And I started flying to LA on the weekends and working shows, and then COVID hit. And so all of that stopped. And I came home, and what I really missed most was the music. And so I started this music and travel magazine called Rock and Roamer, which is such a weird time to start a music and travel magazine in the middle of COVID, when those were the two things that really were not happening. And so, that kept me connected to the scene and the people. And when I got out of all of that, I just kept growing the magazine, and it led me to moving to Los Angeles, where I got my master's in music industry at the University of Southern California. And then I started working for the LA Philharmonic, and just working tons of different live shows and freelancing for artists. And then it led me to working for Warner Music Group's catalog label, Rhino Records. But then my undergrad major was political science. I always planned on going to law school. Working in that world gave me the frame of reference for how I can transfer my law degree into something in music too. And so now in law school, I'm taking classes on copyright and contracts, and I'm just really finding ways to blend all of these worlds together.
That is, one, so exciting because I have a massive love for music.
Yes.
But two, how cool to go from a small town to jump into the music industry like that. Had you always, I know you said in high school you were going and helping with shows and getting to know these promoters. And for those that are listening, promoters are people that essentially produce the shows or help promote the show. And so they're like the point contact for pretty much everybody if you don't know what a promoter is. But had you always had a fascination in music, or how did that really come to be?
So I'm very lucky that both of my parents, they value music immensely. Grew up in a very musical household. And so we always had music on. And so I don't know. I think being around that scene so much, and being in that world and surrounded by shows and having that opportunity, I'm just really grateful for that.
Yeah, I love that. So tell me, so we're from the same town.
Yes.
And didn't we also discover that we went to the same high school?
We did, yes.
Yeah. So you grow up, you go to LA. When did you start writing at Zenergy? Where does Zenergy come into this whole picture?
Yes, so I started writing when I was in high school. I was on the swim team, and Coach Casey Wheeler, she encouraged all of her swimmers to come out and try this new cycling workout. And I remember my first ride. It was a 6 a.m. flex class with
Oof.
Meg,
Woof.
really jumping right in.
Yeah, you really jumped in.
Really jumped in, and I walked out and I said, "I am never coming back. That was way too hard. That was too much. I am overwhelmed." But then I did, and I kept getting better at it and better at it, and it made me a better swimmer. It made me a better student. It made me a better person. And so I feel like cycling is something that rewards the dedicated, and once you get in it, you really just can't stop.
Yeah. So you mentioned taking your first ride, which a flex, by the way, is crazy for your first ride. So I don't envy you on that. And you said you didn't want to come back. So what ultimately got you to come back
You
for
know,
your second class and beyond?
I think it was I love a challenge.
Yep.
And I love a community. And I feel like the community at Zenergy is just so well-rounded and fantastic and welcoming.
Yeah.
And when I was walking out of the studio, they were like, "Oh, you have to come back. This it gets better. Your butt doesn't hurt as much after the third or fourth ride." And so I'm so glad I did. But it's really the community.
I love that. And we're going to talk about how many rides you're at here in a little bit. But before we do, I think what is so cool about today's podcast that we're recording is you bring a different knowledge and conversation to Synergy than I've had with anyone else. And it's the intersection of music and movement and how those two come together. And while I know right now you're back in Morgantown studying law and you're not in LA necessarily directly in the music industry, you're still very much involved in the music industry. You're still running your magazine. You're still doing that type of stuff. So being in the industry that you've been in, how has that changed the way you listen to music, the way you ride to music? Like, what does it do for you, um, in general?
So I think that when I walk into class, I love that every class is different, that every class, well, not every class has a theme, but every class's playlist is just so different.
Yeah,
And I feel like in my music background, I have worked with so many different artists, and so many different genres of music. And that's just one thing I love about music in general and about cycling is that no two cycling classes are the same, and no two songs are the same, and no two artists are the same.
yeah,
So just being able to bring a whole bunch of people together who are from different backgrounds and different places in the community and all ride together to the same set list and the same song, I think that's pretty great.
yeah. It's so funny that you say that. And I love that you use the word set list
Mhm.
because I know that term all too well. And that's how Synergy was created to be like a concert.
Mhm.
So I think when you talk about the ride kind of mirroring, I guess, that live show type of feel, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. I
Mhm.
want to dive into a little bit about you mentioned going to school in Kentucky, right?
Mhm.
And getting involved in that organization. Can you dive into that a little bit more and tell me how that came to be and what that experience was like?
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to go to the Grammy Awards dress rehearsal as a seat filler. And so it just randomly appeared in my inbox one day. And so I was like, "Oh, I'll go." And so I flew to LA for that. And when I was there, I met so many different people within the industry. And they're like, "You have to join Grammy U. Like, you have to join Grammy U." That was what everyone was telling me. And so I thought, okay, I'll join Grammy U. And so I was the only person at University of Kentucky who was a Grammy U member,
Wow.
and that just led to so many different opportunities. That community is just so connected. So there's so much togetherness
Yeah.
within Grammy U, and I was able to meet students from all over the country. Yeah, and now I'm a certified professional member of the recording academies.
That is crazy. How was that dress rehearsal experience for you? Was that your first time in LA? Give me the rundown on that.
That was my first time in LA.
Okay.
And which living there and visiting are just so two
Yep.
different worlds for LA.
Yep.
And so I mean, it was just amazing. Going to an event like the Grammys, you just see it's the best concert of your life. I mean, you're seeing the best of the best do what they do. And so just being in that room, especially at such a young age, was so incredible.
Yeah, it's the it's being in the right place at the right time, and
Hmm.
it seems like being in that place then led you to Grammy U. So you
Hmm.
apply to Grammy U, and you get into Grammy U. Tell me what that process is like and how that was for you.
So you had to show where you want to work in music, which at the time I knew I wanted to go to law school. And so I was on the pre law track in political science. And then not totally switched gears, but really directed my focus towards music in that way. But I think also, just like you're saying, it's not just the right place at the right time, but also saying yes to the opportunities given to you. I think I'm a yes person, and I'll say yes to everything. I did improv as a kid too, so I'll yes and all day long. I think having those opportunities in front of you, you have to say yes to them to propel yourself forward.
And I can only imagine the amount of connections that you made through that program. I mean, it ultimately probably set you up for really the rest of your future, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, well, and then moving to LA, I felt like I already had a community there,
Yeah,
and so it made everything so much easier.
I love that. And so what year did you move to LA?
2022, I
Okay.
believe.
So after COVID, you're in LA. And like you said, living and visiting are two completely different things. What
Yes.
were some of your favorite parts of living in LA? And yeah, just favorite parts. We'll stick with the favorites.
I mean, I love the people. I love meeting people. There's so many opportunities to go to shows. The food's incredible. Um, it's really, I think every place that you live, it really comes down to the people that you surround yourself with. And so I feel like I have a great community here in Morgantown, but also I had a great community and still do in LA.
Yeah. It's I've never lived in LA. I've lived in New York, completely different, but
Mhm.
somewhere different than West Virginia. And it's all about the
Mhm.
culture of LA. I've visited many, many times and I love the culture of the
Mhm.
food, the people, the vibes. It's very just chill and relaxed. But
Yeah.
I think probably in the music industry, it's the opposite of that, I would assume.
Well, and also different parts of LA. So if you're in Venice, you're gonna see a different vibe than if you're in downtown LA or in Burbank or in Glendale. It's
Yeah.
all different
And
vibes.
when you were there, where did you spend most of your time?
So I lived in downtown LA,
Okay.
which people tell you don't do, but I loved it.
Yeah.
But then I spent a lot of my time in West Hollywood, like professionally doing shows.
Love West Hollywood. One of
Yeah.
my favorite areas to visit, maybe anywhere. It's just the vibe is so great over there.
Yeah.
It's so great. So you're in LA. When you moved there, did you have a job set up or did you just take a jump and say, we're going for it?
Well, I came for school, and so that
Okay.
was a little bit different. But then I got jobs from I was also freelancing too. I was flying back and forth from West Virginia to LA doing freelancing for shows, so I continued doing that, which was easier when you're actually living there. But then things just kind of rolled out from there.
Yeah. And you ended up with Warner Music Group,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Cool. Tell me that experience and what that looked like.
So I was with Rhino Records under Warner Music Group, which
Cool.
is the catalog division.
Okay.
So that any music ever produced under any Warner Music Group label from Warner Records to Atlantic, after 5 years, it gets put into catalog. Rhino promotes the music that is older. And so from the Grateful Dead to Led Zeppelin to Fleetwood Mac, it all falls under Rhino.
How fun.
How fun, really. It was the greatest time.
Tell me like what a typical day would look like. And I know no 2 days were the same. I know the music industry very well, but
Yeah.
what would a typical day look like for you?
Yeah. Well, real it is never 2 days are never the same. But, some days there would be a podcast recorded in the lobby, that an artist was doing. There would be a 10-year anniversary release of a certain, um, album that would be reprinted, and we're making a video for that. There would be, like, a TikTok campaign with a bunch of influencers, and we're telling them what to do. There'd be a music video being recorded on the roof. I mean, it would just every day was crazy.
I think that's what I love so much about the arts industry, in particular the music industry, is that it's just fun. Like
Yeah.
it's very stressful. I don't want to sit here and say that it's just all holly jolly and smiles, but there's this euphoric mental fun aspect of knowing that you're a part of creating something. And what you're creating has a lasting impact far longer than you will ever have yourself.
Yeah, and I thrive off a little bit of chaos, and
Yeah.
so that helps when you're in the music industry.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also thrive off of chaos. Not too much, but
Yeah,
just
not
enough.
too much, but a
Yeah,
little bit.
not too much. Amazing. And so you move back to I just want to dive into LA. That's why I was asking that.
Yeah,
And you're in LA and then you come back to West Virginia.
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this because I was talking about culture.
Uh-huh.
Even though you're from West Virginia, it had to have been a cultural shock coming back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I haven't lived here as an adult either, and
True.
so that was the difference too, like, I think coming back as an adult was a little bit different, but then also jumping into law school, which is its whole different ballgame on its own.
Yeah.
So that like immediately back into school, back into reading books 24/7, um, very much different.
Yeah. And you mentioned that law school was always something that you had that was a plan for a while.
Yeah,
So when you were in LA, I mean, obviously you had chosen to apply to certain law schools and often based on where you get accepted, but
yeah.
was West Virginia on your mind to move back to?
Well,
What?
yeah, it's kind of funny because law school was always part of the plan. I wasn't sure when. I
Okay.
did apply the last week of July before law school started the first week of August. And so, yes. So I law school was part of the plan, but it was also very much an abrupt decision to do this.
Wow. And when you applied, were you still in LA?
Yes. And so I was there and I applied and it just so happened that WVU was one of the only applications for this round of admissions still open. And so I thought if I get in, I'll do it. Because I was getting to a point too that was in my career where it was like, well, I'm a little bit of a crossroads because I had a contract ending and I really wasn't sure of my next move. And I really did and do when I'm so proud of this law degree. And so I'm so glad I did when I did though and came back and I have an amazing class that's
That is
also
crazy though. 1 week. 1 week to move from one side of the country all the way to the other.
yeah, it was crazy.
And what year was that?
This last year.
Just recently, this past summer.
Yes. So this is my second year of law school. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. Crazy. You're back, and then it just so happens that we have a studio in
Yeah.
Morgantown as well.
Yeah.
And so it's like life has these full circle moments. You move to LA, you get into the music industry even deeper. You move back to West Virginia, now in a different city than where you grew up.
hmm
And how does Zenergy come back into play again now that you're in law school?
Well, I always say that Zenergy is a non-negotiable for me in my day. So it's just as important to me as running my con law flashcards. I feel like if I'm not well, everything else goes off the tracks. So yeah, I love coming to Zenergy.
Well, I want you to know we love having you. And everybody listening, Lauren rides that front row and or the sidebar, and you are killing it. And sometimes more than once a day too. And I'm like, so these days I'll do more than one a day. And my body is just like, I just cannot do it anymore. So I give huge props to people like you who are able to do it. Yeah, huge props. Recently, you celebrated a milestone.
hmm
Let's talk about what that milestone meant to you and what that
Yeah.
milestone was at the studio.
Yeah. So 550 rides. That's a lot of rides.
Crazy. That's a lot of rides.
Yeah.
That's a lot of rides.
Yeah.
What did it mean to you to hit 550 rides? I mean, there had to have been so much growth. And not only that, I'll also say that's over a span of multiple studios with us and
Mhm.
multiple years and a
Mhm.
lot of life changes.
Yeah.
So in that 550, did you think about that stuff?
Well, and then there was years that I didn't come. So
Hmm.
that's the crazy thing too, but, I feel like for every ride in the 550 rides, I always walk out of the studio better than I came in it. And so I feel like that's what keeps me coming back, and that's what makes me wanna ride 500.
Yeah. Yeah. It's on to 600 now, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy, crazy. And you're back home, so you're probably riding at the Charleston studio when you can,
Yes.
which is so fun because you get to see these two different communities.
Yeah. And I will say they're very different too. They're very much similar in the structure and everything, but the communities are different. The both great, but very
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's I love it and I love the vibe. I just love to get to know the community at each studio. So the fact that you've been able to find two different communities in and especially like when moving back to Morgantown, of course you have your law school group and that cohort that you're with, but to have another community at Zenergy that lifts you up and supports you is that's just so fun too, you know?
Yeah.
It's so fun. Being in the music industry and tying it to Zenergy, what type of music personally just makes you just gets you going?
I'm a girly pop girl.
Yeah.
Well, if you looked at my Spotify Wrapped, it's like Taylor Swift and Sabrina Carpenter.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. And when you were in LA, you know, obviously working under that division, it's older music, it's things that are getting cataloged.
Well, I love that too.
So talk to me about that.
My music taste is very diverse,
Yep.
and I love guitar music too, and so I love one of my favorite artists is John Mayer, and I was so excited. Well, you played Bigger Than My Body the other day in class,
Yes.
and I was so excited. So it's always fun too because you wouldn't necessarily consider John Mayer an artist that you would play in a spin class, but when you do, like, especially for someone like me, that's so exciting.
Love it's so funny you say that because I'll play songs like that and people are like, "What is this?" So, it's good to know that there are people on the other side that are like, "Oh, no, I love it, like, keep playing it," you
Yeah.
know? I did the Stranger Things right a few weeks ago,
I was gonna mention that because
and
that was amazing.
that's some of my favorite music.
Yeah.
I love the '80s. I mean, I always tell people I wish I grew up in the '80s
Mhm.
because it seems like it was such a fun time to
Mhm.
just be alive.
Yeah.
So when you're cataloging music, you know, working in that division, you're probably getting a lot of re-recordings or a lot of remasters
Yeah.
or things like that. And so you also probably too get to learn a lot about that music, I would assume.
Yes, and so I in the Rhino offices, there's, like, what they call A&R Island, and so the A&R people are the people that for especially for catalog, they bring about, like, what music they're going to re-release next, and so I would hang out, like, at A&R Island, and they would play records all day long, and I would ask the people, like, "Oh, what's this?" or "What's that?" or "We should really play this."
Yeah.
It's so much fun, like, getting to talk about music in that way.
And it's also, I don't know about you, but my favorite part about being, so I never worked at a record label or anything like that. But, you know, during the music festivals, I was very involved with talent buying and working with some of these artists directly. My favorite part was learning what was going on in the industry before anybody else knew it.
Mhm.
What was your favorite part, do you think?
Yeah, I will say I did get sent the Taylor Swift album before anyone else, and that was like, just as a fan, that's really fun for me, and I was driving around in my car in Morgantown listening to The Life of a Showgirl, and I'm like, "No one outside
And you can't say a thing.
can't say it, and I can't roll down my windows."
Yeah.
I'm like, "If people knew that I was listening to The Life of a Showgirl right now."
Yeah. It's like having it's like having something that everybody wants, but
Yeah,
you can't let them know that you have it,
no.
and you can't share it with anybody. It's like, but you know what? That's what I love about the music industry is that there's this common respect amongst all of us and people
Mhm,
who get things like that. There's a respect for the art of music. And of course you always have your one-offs, but that is something that's so valuable, I think, is to be able to have those connections that you know you're gonna have the rest of your life,
mhm.
and to be able to get the inside scoop and really, like, I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is it reminds you how much you love what you do,
Yeah.
you know?
I have those moments every day. I mean, I think, how lucky are we to do things that we love, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. It's, you know, that industry is one that I always wanna be a part of. I'm taking a little break right now, mental break, we all have to take them here and
Yeah.
there. I too am a yes person, and I need to say no for once, so I'm taking a quick break from it, but you're right, like, how lucky to wake up and to be a part of something, um, so special.
Mhm.
And like I said a little bit ago on the podcast, so special in something that is gonna last far longer than any of us.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
And that's a
huge.
testament to Rhino and Catalog. I mean, so much of that music is, way older than I am, and I love it, and people are still listening to it.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. You know, you're in law school, you're still writing at Zenergy.
Mhm.
What does the future for Miss Lauren look like? What are you wanting to go back to LA? Like, give me a rundown.
Yeah, I'll go wherever the opportunity is. So I never want to tie myself down to say I'm this person or that person, or I want to live here, because I just love so many different things, and and I'm always going to be a part of this industry, and no matter what I do. So I'm always looking forward to that. But I'll be honest too, most of the opportunities that I've gotten have been spur in the moment things, and things that kind of came out of nowhere. And so I'm always just really open to going with the flow and seeing where life takes me.
Yeah, you have such an amazing personality. And to any of my friends in the industry that are listening to this podcast, whether you be in the label industry, talent buying, you better hit up my friend here because she's amazing. And, I am so excited for you to continue writing at Zenergy. We're going to take you as long as we can get you. Maybe when you move to your next place, we'll have another studio for you. We'll just keep
Yes,
bouncing
please.
around with you. Anything else before we wrap up our conversation today? Anything you want to share?
You know what, I will say that one of my best friends, she lived in LA and now lives in New York, but we'll go to a class that starts like at 5:45 together. And then as soon as we get out of the class, we'll both call each other and we'll talk about our different rides that we just rode and the
No
playlist.
way.
Yeah. And so she's amazing. But I feel like that's like such a great way to even bond with someone who might not even be in the same cycling class as you, but still bonding over cycling.
That is crazy. Now, every time you ride my 545, I'm going to think, okay, she's going to go outside and her friend are going to talk about class. I gotta make sure I have really good music. Well, friend, I appreciate you. I cannot wait for people to hear this conversation. If you see Lauren, you've got to say hi to her. She rides Morgantown and Charleston. You're not going to miss her. And then let's give a little plug for your magazine too. To where can people find you? Give us the rundown.
Yes, we're on the site Issue, ISSUU, Rock and Roamer. And then we're most active on Instagram at Rock and Roamer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, friend. I appreciate
Thank you so
you.
much.
And everyone, thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next podcast episode. Bye.